Think we had 3 hours tonight? I don't know. I'm asking you.
I don't know. You never know. Come on up. Right. You signed on the bottom.
How are you?
No, you have that. No, no. This is actually. Have you?
I'm here.
Yeah. Hi, Kathy. How are you?
Hey, Billy.
How are you? Good. Hi.
we do. Stacy had it.
Her husband.
Yeah, but I sorry. Well, it's almost January. Wish time flies. Yeah, there.
Nobody bickers anymore.
the December 20, 2023 Lower Saucon Township Council meeting. Mark, please call the roll.
Mr. Benonis?
I'm here.
Mr. Croce? Here. Mr. DeLeon?
Here.
Mr. Engels? Here. Ms. Jordan?
Here.
Everyone's here.
All right, please stand and pledge the flag. All right, council did not meet in executive session this evening. There is no action on executive session items. Public comment procedure is available outside the council meeting room. Again, for everyone's convenience, public comment for agenda items only, residents and taxpayers only, with a 3-minute time limit. And we'll get started. All right, first is Diane Hollowell. Diane Hollowell.
Hello. To bring my visuals.
I'll let you all see this then. Diane Hollowell, 1519 Highland Drive. I just wanted to clarify a few things that were stated by council at last board meeting. So this deals with business item D. I was a little confused when Mr. Bananas is saying that only 16 people spoke of the opposition to the landfill, and that accounts for 0.1% of township residents, so it was basically a non-issue. So I have to tell you, I did email the Northampton County Election Board, and I told them to expect communication from the township, but I couldn't understand the same logic of only receiving 25 voting concerns. Some of them had no problem. Some of them even mocked the process. So I might assume that maybe only 16 were legitimate, which in Mr. Bananas' mind was a non-issue, because it would only account for 0.1% of township residents. They did respond back to me very quickly and thanked me for the heads up. So being a very visual learner, I did create a chart to clarify some numbers from the November election. There are 11,094 residents in Lower Saucon. Of those, 8,581 are actually registered to vote. 3,983 voted in this township election. That equates to 46% of voters. So, Mr. Engels, I know you said 60% of Lower Saucon residents did not vote. That's actually wrong. It was 54%. And there is no evidence, I will repeat that. There is no evidence to support why some residents did not turn out to vote. So this is pretty awesome for Lower Saucon. We are 13% over the average of voters in Northampton County, which was 33.1%. And just to give you two different comparisons down here. If you look at this side over here is comparison of the people who voted. So basically, Ms. De Leon got 60% of the votes. When we go down to the bottom here, Mr. Engels, I'm so sorry, you had 38% of the votes. But if you actually look at the percentage of people who are registered to vote, Ms. De Leon got 28%, and sorry, down at the bottom here at 17%. So basically, the top 3 vote getters received 2,460 more votes than the bottom 3 vote getters. So I just want to clarify the facts for everybody. If you need me to hang this chart up anywhere, I would be glad to do so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next is Bob Blaster. Bob Blaster.
No, that's okay, I don't need to speak, that's a hard
Okay.
act to follow.
Next is Victoria Optop Cordero. Victoria Optop Cordero.
Good evening, Victoria Altos Cordero. There are a number of items on the agenda that I thought would be appropriate to comment on. The first and foremost would be the bidding results on the ball field. I am very disappointed to see that this is on the agenda because the last time there was a discussion about adding these extra things to our ball field on Easton Road. There was a discussion about attempting to get additional funding from other sources, including the players themselves or booster clubs. And yet here we stand with the potential of approving another 1.3 or 1.4 million dollars of our reserve money or our taxpayer money, at the same time that at the last council meeting, we discussed the inability to pay for a pumper truck for our fire service company up front. And so I want to point that out and identify, because from my perspective, if we're going to properly fiscally manage our township and appropriate our funds in the right way, we should be prioritizing the safety of our residents and our fire services and supporting our fire company. Instead, we are prioritizing adding dugouts and bleachers and items to a ball field that is located in a light manufacturing district that you recently rezoned for warehousing. So I again implore this council to please act with fiscal restraint, listen to the voters' will, and save that money so that the $14 million plus improvements that the fire services have provided to you in October, there might be some money to actually protect our residents and do some of those improvements. Because at one point you did want to promote a $14 million improvement for our fire company, and yet we're spending money on dugouts. So I wanted to highlight that. The second thing that I wanted to highlight is the conservation easement item that's on the agenda. I think it's irresponsible for us to be sitting here looking at amendments to conservation easements or alleged conservation easements that you all approved in August. If the township had done its due diligence and gone through what was actually presented by the landfill, you would have known that they couldn't number their conservation easements properly, because that's a correction that you're fixing. But then also, you would realize that the properties are not conservable because they have lots of catch-alls and things in them that allow the landfill to do landfill operating things on land that's not supposed to be used for that purpose. In addition, some of the properties are junk properties that have nothing on them. They're not conservable, and now we're giving away that right too. So I would.
Time is up. If you could wrap up your thoughts, please.
Thank you. I would respectfully request that this council exercise the appropriate mindfulness and understand that their duty is to the residents of this township and not to special interests. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Amber Rose Kalos. Amber Rose Kalos.
Hello, my name is Amber Paulos. I'm at 2596 Reddington Road. I'm here because I oppose any expansion of the Bethlehem landfill. My husband, Jay Paulos, who could not be here as he's taking care of our 2 children. He also opposes the landfill expansion.
Excuse me, landfill expansion is not an agenda item.
Excuse me, I am a 34-year-old woman, a mother, a wife,
Yeah,
a landowner, a taxpayer. I understand. Look, so you've clearly demonstrated that you do not respect my opinion and someone such as myself. I'm sure you'll get your jobs in at the end like you so cleverly like to do. However, I will speak my mind.
Ma'am, please stand down because
Say
you're not
something
speaking
about
to
the
an agenda
I will
item.
speak my mind as I get to my point
Well, please
in
do.
the agenda items that are listed. Now, if you please, put back the time that was
No, I'm
allotted
not.
to me before Mr. Bonolis' interruption.
Ma'am,
I
I
will
asked you
get
to
to my
speak to an
point.
agenda item. Okay, please proceed with your comments.
I will continue. As I was stating, my boys cannot speak for themselves, but they also are in opposition to the landfill expansion. In fact, quite frequently, my young 4-year-old son has been asking, "Mommy, what's
Okay,
that
ma'am.
smell? Something stinks."
Ma'am, I'm
So
gonna
that's
ask you
4
to please
more
stand
people
down.
that you can
Ma'am.
count to your
I'm gonna make a
16
motion to go into
who
recess.
care
Do I have a second?
before you continue to put
Yeah, I'll second.
misinformation
Second.
out on public record.
Mr.
Now, I
Myers?
say
Yes.
all of this because I can clearly see
Yes.
through to the true motives of tonight's agenda items, D, E, and
Yes.
G.
Ms. Schroeder? Motion
All right,
passes.
thank you.
Start off talking about the election, and then you can continue.
That was right there. I agree the election machine malfunctions are unacceptable. Wow.
It's just great.
You gotta see it for yourself to believe it.
If I had been allotted my 3 minutes, it would have went through the agenda items.
Yippee, we're off to a great start. Welcome to Lower Saucon.
If anybody wants a picture of my chart, I have it here. I was hoping Miss Blair would be here to take a picture, and she was snapping pictures last meeting of everybody who went up to speak. Congratulate, since we're just free. De Leon, do you realize you got 880 more votes than Mr. Ingles? That was amazing. And you probably would have got more if we would have went back and contested it.
All right, I'll bring the council meeting back out of recess. It's 6:42. Mark, make a motion to come out of recess. Oh, Tom, anybody coming out of recess? Yes, Mark?
Mr. Carochi, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon? Reconvene.
Sure.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger? Mr. Benoit?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ms. Palos, if you want to resume your time at the podium, you may, but this is for agenda items only. A copy of the agenda is available outside the meeting room. If you have comments on any agenda items, you're welcome to speak to those at this portion of the meeting. If you have non-agenda item comments, there's a portion of the meeting at the end of the meeting that allows you to speak to non-agenda items. You're welcome to do that at that point. So with that said, we're going to reconvene. We're going to start the clock again for you, okay?
As I stated before, I say all of this because I can clearly see through to the true motives behind tonight's agenda items D, E, and G. Though I do agree that the election machine malfunctions are unacceptable, if that's true, I do not believe that to be your true concern. Your interest lies in attempts to discredit those who were voted in by the people. Your survey reeks of bias, as there were no options indicative of compliance or non-issue. Requiring a response from St. Luke's University Health Network when you prohibit their representative from even speaking out against the landfill in a forum in which vital topics are being discussed and decided upon is laughable. And my vote is that of no confidence in certain current council members being able to act in the best interest of the public, the citizens you have been elected to serve, when deciding upon corrective revisions regarding 11 landfill conservation easements. It's obvious the true agenda is to serve the best interests of the Bethlehem landfill, who I'm sure the owner is not a resident of. Thank you. Is that good enough for agenda items?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Next is Dave Deland. Dave Deland.
All right, I'm going to talk about agenda items. I'm not talking about the landfill. I do follow the law of order. If I'm not out of order, please eject me, okay? Because I really have had with that kind of thing. And the fact of the matter is, I want to talk about the Hellertown Police, and if it's not appropriate, just stop me. I find
Is that on
out
the
that,
agenda?
I love it. You know, there is a law, by the way, Jason, if you look it up or maybe link, a federal law about shouting down people at a public meeting, and that's what we're getting here. The finger, the yelling, etc. So maybe that's what we're based on. Anyhow,
Mr. Bowman, I'll
Hellertown,
grant you additional time since you've been interrupted and somebody questioned whether this was an agenda item, so I'll give you another 20 seconds.
thank you, sir. So I understand that the state police took over the Hellertown service on November the 22nd. I find that's incredible. All right, yes, we are aware that the chief stole 125, alleged stole 125K. What I'm concerned about is this township, through the alliances that exist, gonna have to help pay for that kind of loss. What's more, I see that the previous police force also had to resign. I'm really concerned about our alliances with Hellertown. Now, St. Luke's, want to talk a little bit about that? Let's see here. I was wondering if St. Luke's has looked into the treatment plant to understand about the pollution of the river that passes by St. Luke's, or perhaps they've looked into the trains that haul garbage along that right of way by the river, as opposed to perhaps not paying attention to the 400 trees that are gonna be planted, or perhaps putting some of their flowers, instead of billion-dollar company is sitting here involved in politics, when we understand that they're not residents and they do not have tax privileges here. So I think that's all I need to say. Oh, I do have a few seconds. I would ask this coming council, I know everybody's yelling and screaming about who voted who, but I'll tell you, at least we have some semblance of civility under this current administration, and I don't care what happens. If you don't have that, you don't have much of anything. Yeah, hooligans.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn. All right, next is Laura Ray. Laura Ray.
Laura Ray, I just want to make a few miscellaneous comments because going over all this stuff is very upsetting time after time. The ball field bids that came in, I found it very convenient that they've increased $123,000, which is handily just a little bit under the 10% that you can increase your line item on your budget, as we played with last time at the last meeting. They might have gotten tipped off to that. Go ahead, jack up your price a little, doesn't matter, we'll pay it, we don't care. The Cherrywood development, I noticed, I don't know what our process is, I don't probably trust what our process is, but the lowest bidder happens to be a campaign donor to a few of you up there. The election day complaints, I'm not sure why we're continuing to go after this. We already concluded the last time. There was hardly any response on that. So I don't know why we have our staff wasting time, which costs us money to work on this, because it's not a township item to fix, it's a county item. So you can write a letter to the county, because that's what you would tell us to do. Just write your own letter. We don't need to pay for that. I wasn't sure what item F was about police coverage for December 9th. I couldn't really guess. So I wish there would have been more information or some attachment or whatever this is. Hellertown police coverage for December 9th and the year. I don't know which year, the next year or last year. And then with the conservation easements that was already talked about, they're really not conservation easements at all, and it's junk garbage property, and there's no way that we should be even pursuing that. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Next is, I can't read the handwriting here, but I'm going to take a guess. Is it Russ Sutton?
Yes, it is. Yeah, my name is Russ Sutton. I have a couple issues. The ball fields, how often are they used during the year? A couple months out of the year, and we're spending millions of dollars on that, but we don't have the money to buy a pumper truck. That seems like a poor use of monies for the township. Another thing, when Mr. Buba addressed you, I never seen anybody so obnoxious as you are addressing him. For being a fellow attorney, I would hope he would work on trying to disbar you for the way you spoke with him. It was completely rude and obnoxious, and maybe you're not aware of the St. Luke's Hospital, Lehigh Valley Hospital provide care for all the valley here, And maybe they're concerned about the fellow citizens' health and well-being, which you're not. And also the ecology of the river and protecting the river. And they were supposed to check the effluent levels in the river. We were supposed to get a report, and you stated that you would not release that, which is criminal. And also the,
I never said that. So don't put words in my mouth and say that I would never release a report, sir.
you said you wouldn't release it.
I don't have access to that report, sir. When
Okay,
I would
but-
release it, I don't generate that report, so how could I not release it? Go on. Go on.
But the effluent part is the dangerous part that's going in there, and they're allowing them to fill the tanks on the top of the mountain with the effluent. And they're working on that right now, and they don't even have permission to do that. So that is a major problem. But again, I hope and I know our next council will have some demeanor and respect for the citizens and for other council members on there, and that's my wish for Christmas, that everybody can get along and try to work together for a better township.
Okay, thank you. All right, that concludes the public comment agenda items only for residents and taxpayers, including the time limit. Next, we have presentations, hearings, ordinances, and resolutions. So the first thing we have is Resolution 68-2023. This is recognizing Sandra Yerger for her service to Lower Saucon Township. I can say personally that Sandy is one of the finest people that I've known. She has served this township admirably in her 20-plus years. She served on council, she served on the EAC, she started the open space program. She handled herself with conviction, with kindness, and understanding. And I'm honored to present her with this resolution recognizing her. She's a tremendous person, and I think this township has benefited tremendously from her service to the community. So, what we have here is Resolution 68-2023, and I will share this with you. A resolution recognizing Sandra Yerger for her dedicated service to the citizens of Lower Saucon Township. Whereas Sandy Yerger served the citizens of Lower Saucon Township for 16 years as a township council member, first being appointed January 2004, then being elected for 3 additional 4-year terms from 2008 to 2011, 2016 to 2019, and 2020 to 2023, and serving as council president for 3 years, council vice president for 2.5 years. And whereas in addition to her service in township council, Sandy has been an active volunteer on many boards and committees and was an original member of the Environmental Core Committee, formed in 2001, which is now the Environmental Advisory Council, for which she was a member from 2003 to 2023, serving as chair for 16 years and as vice chair for 3 years. And whereas Sandy was also a member of the Planning Commission from 2012 to 2022, served as township historian, and was member of the Lower Saucon Township Historical Society and the Township Historic Committee. And whereas as a member of council, she was also the liaison to the fire services, Cooks Creek Watershed, PA Highlands Trail Network, LVPC Greenways Outreach, Woods Franklin Schoolhouse, and Saucon Valley Conservancy. And whereas Sandy spent most of her career at the Heritage Conservancy, a not-for-profit conservation organization specializing in open space preservation, and currently works assisting elderly and handicapped residents in their homes. And whereas Sandy has lived in Lower Saucon Township her whole life, she has raised 2 children, and whereas in her spare time she enjoys being outdoors, hiking, attending her grandchildren's activities, spending time with her family, and long walks with her dog in our parks and on the Saucon Rail Trail. And whereas Sandy is looking forward to spending more time with her family and enjoying the many nature trails and parks in the Lehigh Valley with her dog by her side. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of Lower Saucon Township hereby honors and commends Sandra Yerger for many years of dedicated service to the citizens of Lower Saucon Township, adopted and enacted this 20th day of December 2023, Lower Saucon Township, Jason Bonone as Council President, attest Mark L. Hudson, Secretary. So I will make a motion to approve Resolution 68-2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mark.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Engels?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
I'll abstain.
Mr. Manonis?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thanks again, Sandy.
accept it.
All right, next we have Resolution 69-2023. This is recognizing Mark Ingles for his service to Lower Saucon Township. I echo the sentiments about Sandy. Mark is one of the finest people I know as well. Mark unfortunately has not been on council for a tremendously long time, but he was willing to step up and serve his community. He's a lifelong resident of the township. He has a business in the community, and his roots run very deep here. He brought a very good perspective to township council based upon his business background, which really helped out in the areas of public works or the park system. So we appreciate all of your efforts in that regard. Thank you. All right, so I will share with you the resolution 69-2023, a resolution recognizing Mark Ingles for his dedicated service to the citizens of Lower Saucon Township. Whereas Mark Ingles served the citizens of Lower Saucon Township as a community council member, first being appointed in June of 2022 to fill a vacant seat, serving his term to 2023, being elected as the vice president. And whereas in addition to his service on Township Council, Mark has been an active member of the Saucon Valley Rail Trail Oversight Committee, the council liaison to the Parks and Recreation Board. And whereas Mark grew up in Lower Saucon Township and raised his 3 children with his wife, he continues to reside in the township. And whereas Mark is co-owner of a local landscaping business with his brother, and whereas Mark will enjoy spending more time with his family and friends and exploring the many golf courses throughout the area. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of Lower Saucon Township hereby honors and commends Mark Ingles for his dedicated service to the citizens of Lower Saucon Township, adopted and enacted this 20th day of December 2023, Lower Saucon Township, Jason Bedonis, Council President, Tess Mark L. Hudson, Secretary. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 69-2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sandy.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Mr. Carosi?
Yes.
Ms. Keeley?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next we have Resolution 70-2023, recognizing Lou Mallman for his service to Lower Saucon Township. Lou served the township for a considerable period of time, Pension Advisory Committee, and in other capacities. Lou has been an asset to the township for a very long time, and this township would not be the financially solid straits that we're in without his assistance. So I'll share with you the resolution that we have, Resolution 70-2024, a resolution recognizing and honoring Louis Mallman for his service as elected controller for Lower Saucon Township. Whereas Lou Mallman was drafted into the United States Army during Vietnam, he worked for the Philadelphia Police Department in 1970 to 71. Whereas he ran for city council in the city of Philadelphia and assisted others with their campaigns over the years. And whereas he ascertained his business administration degree from the University of Penn 1980, and whereas he worked for the United Way in Philadelphia County and later became an executive for the Chester County Division until his retirement. And whereas Lewis is a loving husband of Margaret Mary, father of 4 children, and grandfather of 9. And whereas Louis Mallman was sworn into office as the Lower Saucon Township Controller for 12 years, first being elected to the position in 2011. And whereas Lewis volunteered to serve on the Pension Advisory Committee from 2010 to 2018. And whereas he was instrumental the development of the township budget and the 501c3 and financial policies. And whereas he was consistently available to authorize, review, question, and approve municipal transactions at a moment's notices on behalf of the residents of Lower Saucon Township. And whereas his longtime tenure of the community service and assistance will long be remembered by the staff of Lower Saucon Township. And now therefore be resolved that the Council of Lower Saucon Township, Jason Bedonis, President, Mark Ingles, Vice President, Tom Carochi, Priscilla De Leon, and Sandra Yerger, council members wish to recognize Louis Malman for his service and commitment to the community of Lower Saucon Township, for serving as the elected controller. Adopted and enacted this 20th day of December 2023, Test Mark L. Hudson, Township Secretary, Lower Saucon Township, Jason Bedonis, Council President.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to pass Resolution 70-2023. Lou and I worked together on the pension committee, and he's been a great person to work with on that committee, and very valuable information provided to us. So thank you, Lou, for your service. I'll second it.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bedonis?
Yes.
Mr. Carochi?
Yes.
Ms. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, we have another one. This is Resolution 71-2023, recognizing Jesse Repash, who adopted a road volunteer. Jesse unfortunately could not be here with us this evening, but nonetheless, we appreciate all his service to the township as a volunteer. I will share with you the resolution. This is Resolution 71-2023, a resolution recognizing Jesse Repash for his participation in the Adopt a Road program. Whereas the Lower Saucon Township Adopt a Road program was established in 2010, Mr. Jesse Repash requested to adopt a section of Alpine Drive in 2013. Whereas Jesse had adopted one of the 26 township road sections available, was provided with the safety orientation training, was provided with equipment to participate in 2 litter cleanups per year. And whereas in recognition of his efforts, the township erected permanent signs along Alpine Drive with Mr. Repash's name. And whereas Jesse, along with his family and friends, volunteer twice a year, and accumulated many hours of volunteer time working to keep Alpine Drive clear and litter-free. And whereas through the years, they collected over 26 bags of trash, tires, pieces of furniture, assorted car parts, and electronics that were removed from the township roadsides. And whereas Lower Saucon Township would like to recognize and commend Jesse for his efforts in helping to keep our township roads clean and attractive. And now therefore be it resolved, the Council of Lower Saucon Township, Jason Bedonis, President, Mark Ingles, Vice President, Tom Carochi, Priscilla De Leon, and Sandra Yerger, council members, wish to thank Jesse Repash along with his family and friends for their hard work and dedication to Lower Saucon Township. Adopted and enacted this 20th day of December 2023, Lower Saucon Township, Jason Bedonis, Council President, attest Mark L. Hudson, Secretary. Make a motion to approve Resolution 71-2023.
I'll second.
Mr. Bedonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Carochi?
Yes.
Ms. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Mark, you make sure he gets this.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, next up, developer items, we have none. Next are township business items. First item is well isolation waiver for 2328 Oak Valley Road for Zach Summer. Mr. Summer, please join us. Brian, can you speak to this at all?
So this is pretty standard request for well isolation distance. The Summers have a malfunctioning system that they're gonna replace with a new system. Their lot is small, not real wide, and so they'll be, I think it's about 80 feet from their well, and they are over 100 feet from any of the neighbor's well. So it's rather consistent with what you've done. The DEP wants the governing body to officially approve the waiver, and you have approved this in the past, subject to entering into the indemnification.
All right, Mr. Summer, do you have anything to add?
No, that's pretty straightforward.
Any questions from council?
No, I'll move for approval of the well isolation waiver for 2328. Sorry, I'll move for approval of the well isolation waiver on 2328 Oak Valley Road for Zach Summer.
Does that include with the indemnification agreement?
I'm sorry?
Does that include the indemnification agreement that Ryan mentioned?
Sure. That's attached. I did read that. There's two things attached.
So with
The
that,
letter from Hanover and then the well isolation.
with the inclusion of the indemnification agreement, I'll second the motion.
Mr. Carucci, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Motion passes. We'll be in touch. And we'll get that worked out, and we'll get that down to the courthouse, so.
That's it.
All right, thank you for coming.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item up is Easton Road Baseball Field remaining improvement bid results, review and possible action. Bids were received and were posted on the agenda yesterday. And the council will discuss the results of the bid and may take action on the bid. Bid that we received yesterday came in from the current contractor.
CH&N.
CH&N is doing the work. And Ryan, you want to talk about the bid?
Sure, so as you directed, we did rebid the items that were originally listed as alternates in the original bid for the field. So we did receive a bid for all of the alternates, which would, if council awarded all the alternates, it would be $1,395,500. We did arrange the bid so that council could choose which of those items, if any, that you wish to award.
Thanks, Brian, for putting this together. This came into us initially in August, and at that point, we had considered putting off bidding on these items until next year, or putting it out for bid until next year. And this just shows the cost effect of not doing things promptly. The price has gone up, as it's expected to go up. Certainly inflation's running high, and this should not be a surprise. I would anticipate if this goes out to bid next year, the bid would be even higher than what we got now. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the bids that we received from CH&N Site Construction for site and field lighting in the amount of $391,500. Precast concrete dugouts in the amount of $258,000. Bleachers and structure above the dugouts for $193,500. Precast concrete press box and scoreboard in the amount of $450,500. Double tunnel batting cages in the amount of $81,000. And field restoration in the amount of $21,000 for a total of $1,395,500. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from council?
Yes, I have comments. First of all, I would like to say that I love to keep our children busy with different activities, including sports for all children first. I voted no to the $1 million baseball field this past summer, approved by council majority of the construction of the new 90-foot baseball field. The field is sandwiched in the newly rezoned light manufacturing zone on Easton Road, which, if developed, will increase truck traffic. It will replace two smaller fields, providing the township with its first 90-foot field. We had no real public input. No studies were done prior to this. And I still don't know how many kids will really use or benefit from this. And really, were there any studies done for the need other than some key people in the township that wanted to improve this field? Do you know of any? Or are you just ignoring me, Jason? I'm asking you a question. I don't know who to ask it to. You're the president. I'm addressing you.
You can ask whatever you want.
I'm asking.
I don't have to answer, you can ask whatever question you want. So,
Were we talking about being nice? No. Okay, so I'm just gonna go on record with all these concerns. We never discussed upgrading this for another field that was larger or even be more cost effective. We never did a cost benefit analysis. No idea what the annual cost is gonna be to maintain this fence. So this is what this council has done to all the residents. This baseball complex is too tightly designed, everything on a postage stamp that is not going to fit. For the taxpayers, the money spent, it should have been built at a better location. We need to spend taxpayer dollars prudently no matter what party we are in. It is now known as the Field of Dreams from residents. Maybe Kevin Costner will come to the first opening of throw the first ball. The idea of a top shelf baseball field far out in the suburbs for use, a complex built on a postage stamp, and I said the cost of millions to taxpayers is insane. The project is unlike the other recreational projects that Lower Saucon has begun. The pickleball courts. That project is a winner for the residents, and it didn't cost that much money to do. It's a winner because it crosses many demographics and can be used by youths, teenagers, adults, seniors, males and females. It is an example of how taxpayer money is wisely spent. On the other hand, the Easton Road Ball Field is an excellent example of a special interest project. It benefits only boys that have interest in baseball from the ages of 13 through 17 or 18. It is a limited group. In a stretch, it could be around 200 boys or so from Hellertown and Lower Saucon using the field in a summer season. One can do a simple cost-benefit analysis and come to the conclusion that this is a poor taxpayer investment. It has a huge price tag that only will benefit a few for a limited playing time. It should have been sized down. It is certainly too late to pull the plug, unfortunately, on this project. But there's things can be done differently next year. But what can be done is to limit additional spending and costs, like I said, will be evaluated next year. This field would greatly overshadow the Saucon Valley High School varsity baseball field because because of its many amenities. So I guess I'll ask the council president or anybody would like to chime in on the answer. I really would appreciate it. What amenities does this field have that the school district doesn't have? Does anybody know that? Crickets. Do we feed them? This should have been discussed with the school district, but that never happened either. This is very poor planning on $1 million project. All this is a last minute pitch, excuse the pun, to spend more money because they have a majority now to do so on council.
You know?
Yes, I am. Are you?
Brian, just to be clear, when you looked at this location, you engineered it. Other locations were reviewed within the township, including Polk Valley Park, which was not a viable option because of wetlands that were present on that property, correct?
We did look at Polk Valley Park, and for the outfields, it was, for the outfield, more than the 90-foot baseline was not viable.
And just to put on the record, the comments about this field being far out, I'm not sure what that means. It's a full-size baseball field that's generally for players ages 15 and above. Younger kids play on smaller fields, and they play generally on fields that are in Hellertown, which Hellertown does not have a full-size field that is available for fall ball. So this field would actually be used for students within the Saucon Valley School District, as well as students who are not within the Saucon Valley School District. We're part of the Saucon Valley Diamond Sports as well as other adult baseball leagues, which Saucon Valley School District facilities are for Saucon Valley School District students only. That would be for the high school team who go to Saucon Valley. So there's plenty of other people that, adults and children, who use a full-size baseball field. Besides those that go to Saucon Valley High School, and more importantly, Saucon Valley High School doesn't have any lights on it. And it's my understanding that the Saucon Valley School District High School team welcomes the opportunity to have an additional field in the community where they could practice under lights and play games under lights as needed. There's talk about amenities within the township that are used by others. Well, certainly we have merry-go-rounds and monkey bars and other things in playgrounds, but I'm not aware of too many adults that are using them. I'm not suggesting that we eliminate them to the detriment of children, I think we have to provide for everybody. So with those comments, I'd like to actually amend my motion, and the amendments that I would add to my motion are that the paperwork to execute the bid be completed by December 22nd, which is Friday. And I say that because the goal has been to get this field done so that the youth and local sports organizations can use this as quickly as possible. And that requires this field to get done. So if we can execute that bid paperwork promptly, perhaps we can move this along. I know I've driven by, I'm sure many of you have driven by the ball field, Sandy probably drive by it all the time, and it's in a state of construction. The goal was to have it moving along so the players can use it next year. So that would be the one amendment I make. The other amendment I'd like to make to it is this facility is going to have a precast concrete press box and scoreboard, which is likely going to be used by the youth sports organization as a concession stand. And I would like to grant Saucon Valley Diamond Sports, which is our local youth Saucon Valley baseball program for both baseball and softball, and Hellertown Lower Saucon, the right to name the concrete press box as Mama D's snack stand. For those of you who aren't familiar with who Mama D is, Mama D is Lisa DeRusso. Lisa DeRusso is the wife of Joe DeRusso, the Hellertown postmaster. But more important to Lisa, Lisa has been instrumental in youth sports in the Saucon Valley community for fundraising. For many years, the youth sports organizations were underserved by the fundraising efforts of those that were involved, and Lisa really took that on wholeheartedly and pursued fundraising to help support youth sports to offset costs so that disadvantaged youth in the community could engage in sports and not have to worry about registration fees, and also gather funding that will allow for uniforms to be purchased, equipment to be purchased, safety equipment to be utilized and provided to all the coaches and managers, and to also help pay for the insurance and everything else that's involved in running youth sports. She did that for baseball, for football, and I think this would be a nice way to recognize her efforts in the community for so long. She's literally raised tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, and this is a small tribute that we can provide to her for her community-based efforts. So those are my two amendments. To one, execute the documents, and two, grant authority to Saucon Valley Diamond Sports to name, the naming rights to name it Mama D's concession stand to recognize Lisa DeRusso.
But I'll second that as well, and I'll just add that it is a lot of money, but we have a new post-municipal inspection agreement with the landfill. It calls for about $70 to $80 million over the next 18 to 20 years, and the township has the money, not just for top flight parks and fields for our residents, but also for fire trucks and a fire station, so we can have the top flight fire services as well, and police services as well. So it is expensive, but the money is there.
Yeah, to that point, Tom, there's over $9 million in reserves. If we wanted to, we could buy 4 or 5 pumper trucks.
That's right.
So with that said, with those changes, motion and second.
Mrs. Brown, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Ingles?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next up, we have the 2024 paving project Cherrywood Development bid results review and possible action, The township received 7 bids for 2024 Cherrywood paving project. The lowest bid in the amount of $371,680 is from Barker & Barker Paving, with the contractor to pave the Saucon Terrace Development 2022. The other bids range from $410,123.55 to $549,913.79. So this is the 3rd year in a row where we've tried to identify a large impact paving project that we could use funds for by hiring an outside contractor. The first time we did this was Saucon Terrace development in 2022. That entire development was paid for the first time in probably, what, 4 years?
Ever,
Yep.
ever, first time ever.
First time ever. And then more recently, in 2023, the entirety of Steel City was paid with the exception of Riverside, which is a state-owned road. And that was the first time. And how long, Priscilla, has it been since Steel City?
When I moved in Steel City, my road was paved, so
Right.
that was in 1985.
All right, so that's
The
38 years
developer-
ago.
The developer defaulted and the township had to do it.
All right, so that was at least 38 years ago was the last time Steel City was paid. So, again, we have the money to do this. We have the $9 million plus in reserves with guaranteed financial stability for the township through the new municipal agreement, $72 million over about 18 years. So, I think it makes sense to move forward with the project. Brian, anything you want to add to it?
This particular development has some drainage improvements associated with it that we need to coordinate with the property owners over the winter. So I just want to mention, it's not just a paving project, it is to correct some stormwater issues that the residents have been having for a while.
It's great.
Quick question, Brian. Could you go over the bid process? Ms. Ray seemed to have some concerns. Could you explain how it works?
I don't understand.
Yeah, Laura Ray said something along the lines of the low bidder for this project was a donor to certain members on council. This is a blind bid, isn't it? If we don't, council members don't see this bid, any of these bids until they come in.
Correct, but we put the specifications together, and then we put it on the online service called Bid, which goes out to neighbors everywhere.
Not just the paving, it's also the baseball field contract and anything else of a large capital nature, right?
So they had the opportunity to review the specs. We got a lot of questions, especially associated with the drainage aspects of it. And we got 7 bids. We have no idea who's going to bid. We don't find out until the bid opening date when online, and it's all handled through Bid. And it pops up in a spreadsheet, and they tell us who bid and how much they bid.
The next highest bid was $40,000 higher than the one below us. It was over 400,000, is that
Yeah,
correct?
you have the results.
Yeah, it was 400,000 or something?
410.
410, and this is 371?
About 40,000.
About 40,000.
10% lower.
So is it the recommendation we take the second highest bid and pay $40,000 more? Seems odd.
So Brian, let me just ask you, with regard to the Saucon Terrace development, did Barker do a good job? Was it adequate from your standpoint as township engineer?
No.
Are people that live in the community or development happy with the results from the feedback you received?
There are a lot of residents in Saucon Valley Terrace. What I would note, some of them that had concerns, I think Barker did go out and address those concerns. I'm not aware that there were any lingering complaints. If there are, I'm not aware.
No, we don't have any lingering complaints.
Who do I contact about that? Because I live on my cul-de-sac and I get a water puddle there because it's too high.
You're not recognized. Well, thanks for educating Laura Ray about how the bid process works. I'm sure that's going to be important to her when she gets on council. With that said, I'm going to make a motion to approve the Barker bid in the amount of $371,680 for the Cherrywood paving project, and to have Township Council execute and provide the agreement to Barker paving on Friday, if not earlier, so that they can plan accordingly to get this project in the pipeline. And just for everybody's edification, by doing this frees up Public Works. And Public Works generally paves about 6 to 7 miles of township roads. By us paying for contractors to do these projects, these large-scale community projects, it frees up our Public Works to do other parts of the township. So essentially, by doing these projects, we've advanced the paving projects in other parts of the township by how many years does it work?
Probably about 4 years. Currently, this would be 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, so by approving this, areas of the township that wouldn't have been dealt with for another 5 or 6 years will be done more recently. Okay, thank you. So I made my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I would just like to say that this is for 2024, should have come out of the 2024 budget. It's not, this is just a last spending ditch, motion, for the lame duck council. So that's my thoughts.
You can vote against it.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Scherzer?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
No.
Motion passes.
All right, next up, we have discussion and possible action on election day complaints. Mark, have we reviewed, or have we received any additional reports either through the township website or any other means?
Since we met the last time, I sent out additional surveys that were received. I think it was 9 additional surveys. Those were all provided to council.
Thank you. So since our last meeting, I received some information that I want to share with council as well as with the public. So the one thing that I received is a letter, a copy of the letter. And this letter is dated December 8th, 2023. And it's from an organization called freespeechforpeople.org. Letter signed by Susan Greenhall, Senior Advisor on Election Security, Free Speech for the People, Rich Gorella, on behalf of Protect Our Vote Philly. This letter was addressed to Carrie L. Myers, President, Ronald R. Heckman, Vice President, John Cusick, Tom Giovanni, Lori Vargo Hefner, Kevin Locke, Terry Zarinsky, John Lafredo, John Brown. They're all Northampton County Council members. And it was also copied to the Northampton County Election Commission Board, as well as Sharon Gavin Levy, the chair, Daniel LaPresti, the vice chair, Margie DeRensis, Scott Huff, Vicki Ecker, Matt Muncy, I believe is the Democratic Committee Chair for Northampton County, and Glenn Geisinger, I believe is the Republican Committee Chair for Northampton County. And the subject of this letter is called Express Vote XL Failures, Exposed Violation of Voting System Certification Requirements. And it says the following. Dear Mr. President, Vice President, members of the Council, we're writing to share key information regarding Express Vote XL, and I'll explain it. It says we here, it's in a footnote. Protect Our Vote Philly is a nonpartisan coalition of groups and individuals that acts as a watchdog over the Office of the City Commissioners, which operates Philadelphia elections as the Board of Elections. We work to bring elections that are verifiably fair, accurate, and secure in Philadelphia at a fair cost. Free Speech for the People is a nonprofit, nonpartisan, public interest legal organization that works to review our democracy and our United States Constitution for the people. Since 2019, our organizations have asserted that the Express Vote XL is not suitable for the recording and counting of votes in Pennsylvania and other states. In 2019, we filed a petition for re-examination with the Pennsylvania Department of State, alleging that the Express Vote XL did not meet the Commonwealth voting system requirements. Later that year, we sued the Secretary of State seeking to decertify the Express Vote XL. Plaintiffs settled the lawsuit. So I'll read the letter here. We are writing to share key information regarding Express Vote XL that may be useful to Northampton as it seeks to understand the failures of the Express Vote XL and contemplates the best path forward to reliable, trustworthy, accessible, and accurate elections. Specifically, we wish to highlight that a system in full compliance with state and federal voting requirements, system requirements, should have prevented the malfunction the Express Vote XL experienced in Northampton on November 7, 2023. In other words, it appears the Express Vote XLs do not comply with a critical requirement necessary for state and federal voting system certification, potentially warranting decertification of Express Vote XL in the Commonwealth. Pennsylvania requires all voting systems to be certified by both the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, EAC, and the Pennsylvania Department of State. The Express Vote XL was certified to the Federal Voluntary Voting System Guidelines, VVSG, 1.0, which includes a provision that explicitly requires a voting system to ensure the candidate's name remain consistent throughout the ballot. Section 3.2.4. III of the federal VVSG 1.0 states, the relationship between the name of the candidate and the mechanism used to vote for that candidate shall be consistent throughout the ballot. This requirement specifies a design that would prevent the sort of clerical error that wreaked havoc in Northampton. In essence, this certification requirement idiot-proofs the system for the input error that occurred this past election by requiring the data that designates the vote be consistent throughout the ballot. However, Express Vote XL permits the labels of vote selections on the touchscreen face, the ballot summary card, and tally reports to be programmed inconsistent. That not only violates the EAC's voting system certification standards, but also introduces serious security issues. This failure could be exploited to record votes incorrectly in the barcode and tally reports, while providing labels and printed text that appear to be correct to the voter. We respectfully urge you to raise this matter with the Department of State and to petition for a re-examination because the Express Vote XLs, quote, can no longer be used safely by voters at elections as provided in this act, end quote, citing to Election Code 1105-A subpart C. Similarly, we strongly urge you to alert the EAC of this malfunction and apparent violation of the VVSG 1.0. We also encourage you to review ES&S's contractual obligations and representations to determine if ES&S violated its terms with Northampton County. We hope this information may be helpful. We welcome the opportunity to answer any further questions or provide additional information. We would also be available to meet with you or to provide further information to the council at a future meeting. Thank you very much for your time and attention to this important matter. Sincerely, Susan Greenhoff, Rich Burrell. So as referenced in that letter, there is a settlement agreement that was reached, and that settlement agreement was entered into in August of 2023, prior to this last election, November 7, 2023. And that settlement agreement has certain requirements that are directed to the Secretary of the Commonwealth that includes evaluation and certification of the ES&S machines, collection and publication of information regarding voting system malfunctions, examinations of electronic voting systems, public notice, public access and video recording of those inspections, costs and fees and enforcement, and other provisions. So, I personally, not on behalf of council, but I personally sent several right-to-know requests to the Northampton County Solicitor's Office. And the Northampton County Solicitor's Office, which is under the direction of Lamont Shore, who is the Northampton County Executive, and whose department is responsible for the Department of Elections in Northampton County, provided responses to my right-to-know request. And they provided them in generally three different categories. One, they produced or disclosed information to me. Two, they claimed to not possess responsive records or refused to produce records to me. And three, they claimed to not understand what I was requesting, denied or sought clarification, including asking me to identify the county's records responsive to my request, or asking me to tell them what records they have that are responsive to me. So, I'll highlight some of this for you. This is under the produced and disclosed section of it. They said that Northampton County did not use any and all BS-200 tabulators prior to, during, and after the November 23 election in Lower Saucon Township. They used no online modems prior to, during, or after the election in Lower Saucon Township. They did not remove any modems from the election systems in Lower Saucon Township. Northampton County Elections uses iPads as pollbacks that can connect to a network. No other components of the voting system were connected to any modem or network interface used in Lower Saucon Township. No components of any standalone wired local area network configurations and no connected devices were used in voting systems used in Lower Saucon Township. The ES&S EVS 6021 was not used in Northampton County's voting system. Communications to any and all judges of elections and or election poll workers about provisional ballots and or software errors within the voting system used in Lower Saucon Township prior, during, and after the election consisted of a series of handful of text messages and nothing else. They provided a 2-page attestation form identifying the software firmware revisions on specified laptops, one client server desktop, 2 scanners, and 315 machines without serial numbers or any identification election systems, including Lower Saucon Township during the election. There were no dedicated backup voting machine scanners or central management servers specifically set aside for Lower Saucon Township. And the number of Northampton County precincts, they're referred to simply by directing me to the election results by precincts. And here's where the good stuff comes in. They claim to not possess records or refuse to produce records in roughly 14 different categories. And these include the review, design, software, security, access control, encryption, network, audit logging, guidelines for penetration testing, risk assessment plan, risk analysis, threats, vulnerabilities, probabilities, and impacts for the voting systems in Lower Saucon. They refuse to produce information on modems in the voting machines used in the voting systems in Lower Saucon, perhaps acknowledging that the voting systems contain modems, but supposing are not used. Recommendations to improve the security of the hackable pathways of the voting systems used in Lower Saucon. Any information concerning Rich Garella from the Freedom of Speech Organization, the National Election Defense Coalition, or Citizens for Better Elections, or anyone on their behalf in the voting systems other than referencing the settlement agreement. Information concerning the DS200 precinct scanner and express vote ballot marking device in the voting systems, despite also saying that the precinct scanner was not used. Anything about security testing standards developed for the voting systems. Anything about federally recognized independent testing authorities or voting system test laboratories, the VSTL, for the voting systems. Communications to any and all judges of elections and or poll workers other than those few text messages. Communications from any of the judges of elections and their election poll workers to them. Anything to the elections judges or election poll workers about security standards for the voting systems. Any other details for the election equipment identified generally in the attestation form. Number or location of any and all voting machines, scanners, central management servers. The districts affected by the alleged programming error, programming error from the election, instead referring to the results by precincts, and how any, programming error was handled in each precinct, claiming that the definition is not identified, despite the county executive, Lamont McClure, himself using the term, I believe, and referencing the text messages. So they claim not to know what a programming is, despite the county executive currently representing and using the programming error as an excuse for the debacle that took place. Then they go on this claim to not understand what I'm asking for, deny or seek clarification for things such as the word malfunctions, any physical security recommendations of policies for the voting system, recommendations to improve the security of the voting systems, election records, and reported problems with voting machines, the security of the voting systems. Here's one, complaints. They claim to not know what I'm referring to, what the word complaints means. They also claim to not understand what guidance from the Office of Pennsylvania Governor and or Pennsylvania Department of State about the voting systems is. They also claim to not know what mechanical glitch, a defective ballot, or a mistake by an election worker about the voting system means. Again, when the county executive apparently used the word glitch to try to dismissively gloss over what happened on election day. They don't know what I mean when I ask for every known incident that affects voting, counting, and reporting results for the voting systems. They don't understand what the words transparency and confidence in voting systems means. They don't understand and seek clarification for reporting guidelines and standards for training county election workers for voting systems. They don't understand what certification by the U.S. Election Assistance Commission and or the Pennsylvania Secretary of State for the voting systems means. They don't understand what evaluation of the current federal and state standards for voting systems are. They don't know what the Express Vote XL ballot marking device means. They don't understand what confidentiality, voter anonymity, integrity, availability, and auditability of voting systems means. They don't understand what provisional ballots in the voting systems used in Lower Saucon means. They don't know what is meant by the words vendors and or testing teams for the voting systems. They also don't know what names, addresses, titles, employers, and roles of any and all individuals, entities invited and or tasked to evaluate the voting systems means. They also don't know what it means. They won't provide the names, addresses, titles, employers, and roles of any individuals tasked with checking the integrity of the systems. And it goes on and on and on. So, with all that said, clearly these issues have not been addressed. I commend Northampton County Council for having the awareness and the fortitude to create an elections commission, not an elections board, but an elections commission to look into these issues and come up with recommendations. I fear, though, that their investigation may not be as in-depth as what I've tried to accomplish through my right to know request and have been put off in some ways. So we previously directed the solicitor to share the complaints that we received with the Northampton County Elections Board. Who else, Link?
I think there was a mention of the DA at one point.
Yeah, and the DA. So what I would like to do is, I would like to make, I'm going to make a motion to direct the solicitor to write another letter. And this letter to be addressed to the Northampton County Elections Board, the Northampton County Council, the Northampton County Elections Committee that was created by the Northampton County Council, and the Northampton County District Attorney, to include all of the materials that were submitted to the Township website, any other complaints that were submitted to the Township in any form, and including the letter that I referenced today, the December 8, 2023 letter from Free Speech for the People, signed by Susan Greenhawk and Rich Garella, the settlement agreement that the machines in Northampton County were subject to, as well as my right to know request and all the responses that I received to those right to know requests that I'll provide to the Township solicitor. Does anybody want to add anything or second my motion?
Yeah. I'll second it, Jason, because I think we have some integrity issues here. It's not about the results, so before everyone starts clamoring from the crowd, it's not about the results. It's about the integrity of the system, and I think they need to address it, because I think they're just blowing it off.
And that's actually what the name of the committee that the county set up, is the Election Integrity Commission.
That's the name of it?
Yeah.
Good. Then I'll amend my motion to identify it as the Election Integrity Committee.
And I'll agree, I agree, because I have gotten some complaints as well, so it doesn't, I think this is the right way to go. They were upset with going in and it turning out the wrong things and and there were multiple issues that they were concerned with.
Yeah, and I don't make this motion or bring this information
No.
forward. Like, I make this motion because our constitutional republic calls for it. I mean, voting is what's integral to our existence as a country. And this has been going on since 2019. They were sued, there was a settlement agreement, but yet nothing was done. And you can't keep sweeping the problems under the rug. When you're tasked with running elections, then run the elections and fix the problems that exist, and don't say that you're not going to do it or it can't be done. You've had 4 years, and next year will be 5 years. We've got a presidential election next year, so folks better get their act together in the county elections.
Do the job.
Yeah,
Good job.
exactly.
Exactly, thank you.
I would like to say that we sat here for, I didn't even time how long you read that letter. It would have been much more productive meeting had, like our administrative code said, you're supposed to provide specific information for agenda items, and you did not do that. You had that letter since December 8th it was dated, and today's the 20th.
I did not have the letter since
When did you
December 8th.
receive that letter?
I don't know when I received it. The letter was dated December 8th, and it was not addressed to me.
Okay, so between now and then and now, you received that letter. So the meeting tonight would have been much more productive because we could have all had it and looked at it rather than have it read to us for the last, who timed it? Anybody time it? 20 minutes, 25 minutes? How long?
It's not as long as the
Not as long.
not as long as the home cost letter you tried up there. That went on for 3/4 of an hour.
Move on.
That's when they tried to get me to the Attorney General.
Whatever.
Whatever, that was important.
Sorry, I shouldn't. Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Let's not
Whatever.
address.
I'm
Council.
just giving my opinion that it was inappropriate.
Good, sorry.
I enjoyed your reading.
Thanks, Tom.
You were asleep.
Mr. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
No?
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Could I have a copy of that letter? Could we have a copy? Or do I have to do a right to know?
I don't have any copies, I have no copy.
Okay, and can you ask Mark, and Mark make a copy of that letter?
You can ask Mark for whatever you want. I would direct Mark, Sandy, he's the township manager.
For
You
everybody.
can ask him whatever you want, I'm not gonna say, yes, Priscilla, I'm gonna tell Mark to give you a copy. You can say, Mark, please give me a copy. He's sitting right next to you. All right, next we have a discussion of possible action on any response or lack of response from St. Luke's University Health Network to Lower Saucon Township Solicitors Communications. So, Blake, do you want to talk about this?
Excuse me, I didn't hear what you said.
I'm on the next agenda item.
I heard that. I didn't hear what you just
That
said.
makes you stop talking one time.
Oh, you're so inappropriate.
Go ahead.
So at a previous council meeting, you, as a council, directed me to send a letter to St. Luke's regarding a communication that was disseminated. I sent that letter on, I think it was November 24th. I sent it to Attorney Buba, who is counsel for St. Luke's Hospital. I received, I think it was an email from Attorney Buba sometime just prior to the last council meeting, which would have been the December 6th one, I believe, that he needed some more time to respond. I responded okay. He also pointed out that council had given St. Luke's at that November meeting, I think 14 days. So the 14 days time period had not run yet prior to the December 6th council meeting, which he was correct about. I received a response from Attorney Buba today. I provided that to the township manager. I believe the township manager provided it to council. It's an interesting response. I don't intend to go into it in detail this evening. It did not answer any of the questions that I posed in my letter of November 24th, and that's where we're at.
Right, so, like, I have your letter here, you asked, what was the intent of the lobbying letter in terms of request to contact your political leaders, when you say contact your political leaders, and they didn't respond to that, right? His letter, in response, he responds to procedural errors by council. You ask, who are the political leaders referred to in the lobby? He doesn't answer that. Did the Board of Trustees specifically approve preparation and dissemination of the lobby? Doesn't mention the Board of Trustees at all. In fact, the Board of Trustees isn't CC'd on his response. The Board of Trustees specifically approved the utilization of the patient email addresses obtained for medical treatment purposes to disseminate the lobby letter. No response to that. And then in the event that the trustees did not, and does not approve the action referenced in 3 and 4, what if any actions does the board intend to take regarding the same? Again, he doesn't mention the board at all, doesn't even CC the board, they keep the board out of the response, okay? Even though the board is asked direct questions in your November 24th letter. Which I think is a very good letter. I do like how you talked about how much solid waste they generated, and it's just a matter of not having it in their backyard. They're gonna put it in someone else's backyard. And Mr. Buba's response, I found really not responsive at all. But he actually writes one sentence in all capital letters. I don't know, sometimes you see like children do that, they think if they write in all capital letters, it must be right, or accurate. It's not something you expect from an 80-year-old man. The one thing he does say, though, is when we discussed the IRS, he said, an IRS rule that distinguishes allowable advocacy by nonprofits from prohibited political campaign intervention. He says, the IRS determines whether the communication qualifies as allowable advocacy or prohibited campaign intervention by evaluating whether the statements contained in any messages directly or indirectly favoring or opposing a candidate. Now, then he responds to that with his 32-word sentence and thing. But I agree with what he says about the IRS. I mean, I think we should let them determine. As he says, the IRS determines whether the communication qualifies as allowable advocacy or prohibited campaign intervention by evaluating whether the statements contain any messages directly or indirectly favoring or opposing the candidate. So my recommendation is, let's let the IRS decide. Let's recommend it, refer it, and let the IRS decide. Per Mr. Booth's letter. There's also some inaccuracies. He says that me and Ms. Blair were the only two that complained. There were plenty of complaints from other people. He says St. Luke is the largest employer in the township, I believe. I don't know where he gets that from. But, so I'd make a motion that we do refer the letter that they sent out to the IRS, to let the IRS determine if it was prohibited campaign intervention or it was allowable advocacy.
Tom, did you say to the IRS or any other entities?
And any other HIPAA, any if there's a HIPAA violation as well, any other entities.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Absolutely not.
Mr. Engel?
I vote yes, and only because this is very technical, and it's beyond what the scope, I think, what the average person knows. So I'm gonna let the professionals decide what was right and what was wrong.
Ms. Sherger?
Yes, I agree with you.
Motion passed.
I don't know this right now, so it's not my expertise, but
I will note that none of the
It's
three.
not public comment.
You let him talk, and I'm gonna talk.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you
No, he
did.
didn't. No, he did. He knocked it up from the seat. He did not. I did not, sir.
You have three lawyers, not one of you said anything different than was in my letter.
Mr. Booby, you're a member of the bar.
And I'm
Conduct
going
yourself
to
as
warn
such.
all three of you that without a
Mr. Booba,
basis.
Mr. Booba, don't stand up here without being recognized and threatening us,
Yeah,
okay? I'm
the
telling
only
you,
reason
Mr.
the
Booba,
cops
stand
need to
down.
be here is
Mr.
because of the
Booba,
way the
first of all,
two
you're not a
of you
resident,
acted.
you're not a taxpayer, correct?
Let's do the taxpayer thing.
You're not a resident taxpayer, so
Yeah.
please stand down. This is not public comment.
We are an agenda item.
Don't
waste your breath. Mr. Booba.
Stand warned.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
I'm sorry, I was saying everybody's being rude.
Motion to go into
What was the
recess.
motion?
Motion to go to recess.
Oh, my God, no.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Sherger?
Yeah.
Run away.
Mr. Booba, haven't you learned by now just not to even waste your breath? That's why I don't even sign up for the paper anymore. I mean,
This was
talk
for
to
the,
them, it's like
this was
just,
for the benefit of Mr. Treadwell, Mr. Bononis, and Mr. Croce. I don't need to say anything else.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman.
Thank you.
The whole night wasted on personal.
I'll make a motion to reconvene the meeting.
Second.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Open the meeting, yes, let's get the circus going.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Sherger?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Motion passes.
I wanna go home, I have ice cream at home.
All right, next up is discussion of Lower Saucon Township police coverage for Town Police on December 9 and the year.
Again, no information.
So, I had learned that apparently on December 9, 2023, Town Borough had decided to forego any municipal police coverage and instead bring in or have the Pennsylvania State Police on standby for any matters that would come up when there were no Hellertown Borough police officers on duty. This comes on the heels of the scandal concerning the current police chief. It's been all over the news about alleged theft of $122,000 of either money or services from the borough. There's an ongoing investigation, I believe, by the State Attorney General's office into that. There's been some media reports about an interim police chief being appointed. I'm not sure what the mayor's involvement is in any of this, and what's being done to identify a new police chief, but it's concerning to me as a resident and taxpayer of Lower Saucon Township that I pay for police services here in the township. We have a fine police department who's very commendable, does a great job in our community in keeping us safe. I also voted earlier this year to add 4 police officers to, I believe it was earlier this year, to add 4 police officers to the department to increase our staffing levels in light of a rash of break-ins that were occurring over the holidays. And I find it particularly disconcerting that the neighboring municipality around the holidays on a Saturday would elect to not have their municipal police covering their community. And as I understand it, Lower Saucon Township is a mutual aid department, and if there's an issue in Hellertown, that Lower Saucon would cover the rest of them. Just as we would go to Upper Saucon Township or Cotton Hill or other places. So, I know we have Chief Barn here, and I'm hoping that he can address these issues and provide, some understanding as to what, if anything, Lower Saucon Township was required to do on December 9th and any other time for Lower Saucon Township, because I want to make sure that the tax dollars that I'm paying for our police force are actually being used for a police force that's patrolling the community that I live in and not subsidizing a police department that, by many accounts, has some problems at the very top. And apparently decided not to have police coverage a weekend before the holiday.
If I could, we did not provide any police coverage to Hellertown on December 9th. I was notified that they were going to go to state police coverage through a certain time period.
Chief, were you aware of that before or after we notified?
I received I received a phone call that morning prior to it occurring from the intern chief. He was told to call me, and
who told him to call you?
I do not know. I didn't.
Was it the mayor?
I have no idea.
Does the mayor oversee the police department in Hellertown?
Yes.
He wouldn't know, it's hearsay.
So he informed me that they were going to go to state police coverage and wanted to let me know, and he was also going to inform the city of Bethlehem, and he wanted to know if we would be able to assist if they had emergencies. I said, if you have an emergency, we will assist you. Just have the county dispatch us, just like we do every day, and we would do right now if we had to. But we did not respond to any calls for assistance that night. So I was informed of that. I will not make any comments about Hellertown and their police department. I've had communication with them and their interim chief over the last 2 weeks. This was treated no different than any other day. And just to let everybody know, we provide assistance to multiple agencies, just like Jason said, including out-of-state agencies. They call us for assistance. We also request assistance from other states. Just this month alone, North Carolina, NYPD, twice. So as far as assisting other agencies, that's part of law enforcement every day.
Can I ask a question? I need a clarification.
No, let him finish.
I understand the need to assist other police departments, such as North Carolina assisted us, and to do whatever needs to be done. I guess my questions deal more with, if this happens in the future, one, you weren't notified until the morning of, so it would have been difficult for you to call any extra officers in if you thought you might need it, or if we had something going on, for example, where you had a lot of officers dedicated, right? Or you said that morning before. Second thing is, assistance is different than coverage.
We would not cover the borough of Hellertown. I would not commit our police department without first getting
That's
approval from the township manager
Right.
before anything.
That's what that's what
Assistance is a different story,
Well,
so,
that's, I'm talking about coverage, because
Correct.
there was police, state police coverage. There was supposed to be coverage from the state police if something happened, correct?
that's what I was told, yes.
Right. And you're saying nothing happened, so we didn't have to provide any coverage either.
We were not requested to
Right.
assist.
So go through the system, let's say something, because I can see this happening in the future, and I just want to understand. Let's say there is an emergency in Howard Town. They call the county 911, right? Or the county dispatch, right?
Correct.
Now, would they call state police first if there's state police coverage, or would they call you first?
If state police is covering a municipality, they're gonna call state police.
Okay.
And then the state police may call us to say, hey, if you have units available, can you assist?
Okay, so you would be the second call.
We could, depending on the location. If it was closer to Bethlehem, they might call Bethlehem.
Right, okay, but the state
More
police.
than likely, if it was Hellertown, it would be lower.
You know, what does the state police do when they're asked to provide coverage to a municipality? Do they do anything different?
They do nothing different than we do.
No,
I don't
do
know
they-
what
do-
their policy.
So they don't have they wouldn't necessarily have a state police officer patrolling the borough that day?
I don't believe so.
It would just be on a call basis?
Or driving through, patrolling.
Right.
I mean, we have state troopers that drive through Lower Saucon.
So if the call goes to the state police and then they ask you for assistance, then you're the second call, let's say.
Correct.
But quite often, our officers could respond more quickly than the state police.
Very possible.
That's very possible, right?
And it just happened this past weekend. They had a fight call, they requested assistance, we had a unit right on Polk Valley Road,
Who requested assistance?
Kelly. And they had a fight call on Polk Valley Road at the Starbucks.
Right.
One of our units was right on Polk Valley Road, got there first, and there was nothing.
Right.
And that works vice versa.
Correct.
You guys, yeah,
Correct.
right.
But we have, how many officers do we usually have on?
We try to have, we have a minimum staffing at 2, and we can have up to 4.
And how many do they have? Anywhere from 0 to 2?
Their minimum staffing, I don't know what it is, because I honestly don't know. I mean, most of the time they have 3, or 2, I'm sorry.
Well, we know it, on December 9th it was 0.
That's what I was told, yes.
And this is not an indictment of the Hellertown police officers who are out patrolling. This is a matter of the scheduling and the manpower to make sure that they're providing manpower, and that we're not being unduly burdened by a neighboring municipality that knows that we've got 2 to 4 officers on duty at any given time, and they can just let it fly. And I'm not
Like I
asking,
said,
I'm not asking you to respond to that, I'm just
Yeah,
making a statement.
we would respond for assistance if we're called.
My concern is, we have a spread out township, and, we need our officers for our township, and that's what our taxpayers pay for. And, it's one thing, for an emergency to go down to Hellertown, it's another thing to be their police force in effect,
I mean, I can tell you that we work together collaboratively just between, and I have a little note down here, between August and late November of this year, their commercial motor vehicle enforcement officers assisted us with 10 mentored inspections so we could have our officer certified.
Right.
The city of Bethlehem and the state police gave us 22 as well, but that part of the working relationship is there, so they committed that officer to assist us.
That's a big revenue generator, right? The commercial enforcement is a big revenue generator. They get a lot of money from enforcing commercial vehicles.
Could be, yes.
Well, I don't have any other questions, but I appreciate your comments, Chief, and I appreciate how you run the department. It's, the residents of Lower Saucon Township are very fortunate to have such a highly trained, skilled police department. And, these questions are not directed to what we're doing here in terms of providing police coverage. These are just making sure that our resources are being used appropriately to protect our community.
Thank you, and that's what I'm trying to do, focus on our department. I've had my officers and spoken to them, and we're focusing on our department. Just at a staff meeting, the same thing. We will assist as needed.
Can you give your warning to tell people to look for suspicious vehicles and to set their alarms and to,
Yes, I just want everybody to know, we had another burglary on Monday. Pretty much the same MO, unfortunately, as last winter around the holidays. I'm hoping it's one and done, but if you see something, please call us. Do not hesitate to call us. It's not a burden to us. That's why we're here, and we're here 24/7.
And chief, that's for just cars sitting around doing nothing.
You're exactly right.
Just
Because
sitting
nobody-
around, if you're not sure what they're doing there, call the police, don't ask them, because there was an incident where we probably would've got him, but the homeowner went up and asked him what he was doing, he drove away. So,
Call us.
advice, yes.
Chief, that incident on Monday, was that the one that was reported in the news at the Mexican restaurant in the shopping center, or is that a residential issue?
The one from Monday is a residential.
So the one that we had over at the shopping center here at like 3 or 4 in the morning.
It's something different.
Something different.
Correct.
So there's bad guys out there.
Yeah.
Everyone.
I mean, there's links, if you look for the Chilean burglary ring, they've been hitting the East Coast up and down. Lower Marion, down in Abington, they just caught one of them, but they come over here and that's what their MO is. Very similar to what I described last fall around the holiday season. So just be aware, set your alarms.
Thanks, Chief.
thank you.
What if you? I better not. Just shut up, Mark. Don't even.
Oh, I'm sorry. They would come around a certain time between 5:30 and 6:30 at night. And then they would go to the rear of a house, which is consistent with what just happened down in Abington, then Salem, Lower Marion, all the way up the line to New Hampshire. And they smash a window or a door, they try to get to the second floor, and they go in, they go through the house, they're looking for a quick hit, and then they get out. And they don't care if there's an alarm on.
So put security cameras behind your house too.
Security cameras all around, and register them with us.
Yeah, the camera's not gonna catch, camera's
No.
just gonna capture the image, we have plenty of images.
And unfortunately, we can have images and facial recognition, we could try, but it's not a save-all, save-all. I mean, we have some DNA hits, I can tell you, it's an ongoing investigation, but I can tell you we have some DNA hits, and it's tracked to another job or burglary that happened up in the Northeast, so we're still working. And it's not just our fault.
Go get them.
We'll try. Happy holidays.
All right, next up, we have discussion of possible action on an updated third-party language and other statutory reference and corrective revisions regarding the 11 landfill conservation easements. Want to add anything to this thing?
Sure, just briefly, if you recall, back in August of this year, council approved the easements that are attached and are on board docs. One of the issues that we discussed then was third-party enforcement. The manager, Mr. Hudson, attempted to find an organization that would want to be a third-party enforcement agent. We were not successful in finding anybody, so we discussed putting language in the easement agreements, which I believe is paragraph 12, that provides that in the future, if we can find somebody who would like to be named as a third-party enforcement agent, that we can do so. So I wanted to bring that language back to you for your specific approval of it. And there are also a couple other revisions that were made. One was a statutory reference to refer to the Conservation and Preservation Easements Act as opposed to the Open Space, what we know as the Open Space Act. And then there was one number that was incorrect in the initial easement, so that's been corrected. You all saw red line copies on board docs and in your packets. So my recommendation is that we approve these, and that the motion would be to approve and authorize execution of the 11 revised conservation easement documents for reporting purposes.
All right, I reviewed them. I'll make a motion to approve and authorize the execution of the 11 revised documents, 11 revised conservation easement documents. A second?
I'll second.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mrs. Yerger?
Yes.
Mr. Canone?
Yes.
Mr. Carosi?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
No.
Motion passes.
And I want to thank Lynn for going through this and correcting all that information.
Thanks, Lynn. All right, next, authorization for payment to Brock Lente Construction for the Steel City paving project. Denver Engineering Associates is recommending payment to Brock Lente Construction amount of $849,831.90 for the Steel City paving project. Mark, Ryan, want to add anything?
No, project's complete.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve the payment to Brock Lente Construction amount of $849,831.90.
I'll second it.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Canone?
Yes.
Mr. Carosi?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
No, I heard a lot of complaints from residents on the quality of their work.
And Mr. Engels?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. We have Brock Lente remove the asphalt. All right, we have approval of the December 6, 2023 council minutes. Any questions, comments, or revisions? Heard none, I'll make a motion to approve the December 6, 2023 council meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mark.
Mr. Canone, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Carosi?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Engels?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next we have approval of November 2023 financial reports. Reviewed them, I don't have any questions. Any questions from council? Heard none, I'll make a motion to approve the November 2023 financial reports.
Second.
Mr. Carosi, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Engels?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Mr. Canone?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, council staff reports, Township Manager Mark Hudson. Any news on marshmallows?
They're gone.
Smush
I can't do it now. We will hold our Christmas tree collection on January 6th, January 13th, and January 20th of this year. And if anyone is interested, we are looking for volunteers for boards and committees. That's all I have. Merry Christmas. Sorry, I added that.
You too.
All right, council reports. Mark, anything to report?
Nothing to report. I'd just like to thank everybody that was involved with me in the last year and a half, being, Mark, Kathy, Stacy, Carol, Jim, Rachel, Aaron, and Molly, Brian, obviously Mike, and all my fellow council members for a very interesting year and a half. And I feel I've learned a lot, and I feel it's been a very interesting experience, and I think I've grown a lot from it. So, thank you to everybody for the last year and a half.
Thanks, Mark.
Good luck to you, Mark.
Sandy?
Thing, just I want to, again, hope everybody has great holidays, and just enjoy, looking forward.
Thanks, Sandy. I'll go next. As we have historically done at the end of the year, our last meeting of the year, we go over some of the things that we've accomplished here as a township. I think that it's important to remind the public of all the things that the township does for them. So I'm going to start. Mark was kind enough to put together some information as well. We hosted 3 movies in the park. We partnered with Upper Saucon Township and held 2 electronic recycling events. We hired 3 full-time police officers and 2 public works employees. We passed an ordinance to place a question on the November ballot asking the residents if they'd like to have term limits for council members. Voters voted to implement the term limits. Passed an ordinance for allowing underground storage tanks in areas of carbon and geology. The applicant meets federal and state regulations. Passed ordinances that amended the township zoning to allow additional commercial and industrial uses. host community agreement with Bethlehem Landfill. We reviewed and approved Bethlehem Landfill's Phase 5 land development plan. We reviewed and approved the plan to allow for additional homes to be built on the Steel Club property. We ordered a new pumper truck for Lower Saucon Fire Rescue with delivery expected in 2028. Fire Committee worked to create a vision plan for the Lower Saucon Fire Rescue moving in the future. Recognized Tom Anderson, John Noble, Michaela Jevich, John Kalinich, Andrew Yerger, Mark Ingles, Louis Hallman, Jesse Brekash, Officer Gunshore, Officer Chavney, Dr. Brennan for their service to the community, the Saucon Valley High School baseball team, and the Saucon Valley Middle School future problem-solving team. For their accomplishments, we authorized the complete repair of the Heller Homestead main home sun porch windows, authorized the restoration of the windows in the Heller Homestead windows, and the project has begun and will be completed in early 2024. We completed a cleanup of the debris in the Heller Homestead bar rooms. Thank you for that, Mark. Secured easements with residents to facilitate the Black River Road and Reading Drive culvert replacement projects. We continued our agreement with Saucon Valley Community Center to host a year-long senior program and a youth summer camp program for residents. Purchased and installed a historic sign at the Wagner Hall Farmstead along Saucon Valley Rail Trail. Approved the installation of 4 pickleball courts at Poe Valley. Construction has begun and will continue in 2024. We renamed the Woodland Hills Preserve to Sandra Yerger Community Recreation Area and Nature Preserve. We approved the conservation easements with Bethel Landfill and Bushville Motorcycle Club. We approved the franchise agreement with Comcast to bring our residents an additional option for cable and internet. We passed the 2024 balanced budget with 0.75 mil reduction in real estate taxes for our residents. Have a number of grants totaling $912,380 from the PACED COVID-19 Pandemic Response Grant, $50,000 license plate that was used for license plate readers. The Norco Grow, which was used for $15,000 for security cameras. Statewide local share grant, for which $200,000 was for the Town Hall Park Playground. Keystone Communities Grant, $64,030 for the Town Hall Park Playground. Monroe County Local Share Grant, $394,330 for East Road Ball Field. Northampton Lehigh Local Share Grant, $114,530 for the East Road Ball Field. Police DUI Safety Grant, in the amount of $75,000. Grants that we applied for in 2023 total $831,296. Northampton County Hotel Tax, $13,500 for defibrillators for the municipal parks. 2023 Norco Grow, $50,000 for the Town Hall Park Top Lot Playground. 2023 Norco Public Safety Grant, $17,796 for license plate readers for the police department. Monroe County Local Share Grant, $100,000 of that for Southeastern Park. Northampton County, Lehigh County Local Share Grant, $400,000 for new paper. Statewide Local Share Grant, $250,000 to be applied to the Saucon Valley Rail Trail, Reading Drive Trailhead restrooms. Public Works had accomplishments. They purchased a new asphalt roller, aerial truck, compact loader, grader attachment. We received a new dump truck and tree chipper from our 2022 purchases. Resurfaced 5.79 miles of township roads. Completed the Steel City repaving project, which is an additional 3.35 miles of roads paved. Finished the refurbishing of Old Philadelphia Pike Bridge. Assisted in the planning, construction, and execution of the Black River Road culvert replacement bridge. Constructed a pedestrian connector trail between Glenview Drive and Raiders Lane. Constructed and ran a yard waste collection facility for the residents. Installed 2 new water fountains at the Reading Trailhead of Steel City Park. Enclosed the police department vehicle carport ceiling, metal roofing material. Installed 450 feet plus or minus of storm sewer on Wall Diamond Road to alleviate the winter icing problem and safety issues. Various improvements to the Steel City Park. Public Works staff attended 9 training classes. We also were in communication with PennDOT about the progress of the Meadows Road Bridge. We can report that that is scheduled to be undergo work in the spring and hopefully completed by the summer of 2024. It's been offline for a long time. Again, that's county. 2023 Police Department accomplishments. Our police department conducted 34 community problem-solving details, such as speeding complaints and things like that. Conducted 20 traffic details funded by the Pennsylvania Traffic Safety Grant. Conducted 3 DUI roadway patrols funded by the Pennsylvania Traffic Safety Grant. Conducted 1 Operation Safe Stop, which was a school bus light detail. Hired 3 additional full-time officers. Deployed electronic speed signs in various locations to deter speeding and traffic complaints, hosted 2 car seat check events, 3 other police departments at our municipal complex, visited the Saucon Valley Community Center summer camps at Town Hall Park and Southeastern Park. K-9 Officer Cunningus and Township K-9 Titus conducted 8 K-9 demonstrations throughout the community. Continued our school walkthrough program at Saucon Valley School District, held a successful, very successful National Night Out at Town Hall Park. Thank you for that, Chief. Really well done. And everyone else involved. Donated 425 pounds of food to the New Jerusalem Church Food Bank from our 4th annual food drive. Held our 4th Toys for Tots drive and donated 8 large boxes of toys and several bikes. 3 corporals returned their FBI LEDA, L-E-E-D-A Trilogy Award for successfully completing supervisor, commander, and executive leadership training put on by the FBI LEDA. Several officers participated in the Hellertown Halloween Parade. The township also financially supported the Hellertown Halloween Parade. Officers participated in No Shave November and Double Down December. $880,000 was donated to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation of Lehigh Valley. Hosted several outside training classes that were attended by several of our officers as well as officers from various other departments. Hosted Alex Mann, an autistic male, to visit to educate them on autism awareness. We were the 385th department that he had visited. Hosted our officers at a 3-day active shooter training at the Saucon Valley School District. Held the gun buyback event in conjunction with Northampton County District Attorney's Office. Spoke at the Senior Center on elderly scams. Installed 3 mobile and 1 fixed license plate readers. Appointed various members to our township committees. We did a traffic study for Ringhofer, Sherry Hill Road, and Countryside, and entered an approved an ordinance for vehicular restrictions in those areas to hopefully improve some of the issues with traffic and commercial vehicles. We wrote to DEP requesting air sampling for the landfill. We outfitted some police patrol vehicles. We collected delinquent taxes. We funded Lower Saucon Fire Rescue. We approved various zoning applications for our residents to provide them with relief on their properties. We entered into a new host municipal agreement with the Bethlehem landfill that will provide approximately $72 million to the township over an 18-year period, and that also includes free drop-off waste days in the spring and the fall. Also conserve lands adjacent to the landfill. We made payout 3 of 5 to the Lower Saucon Fire Rescue ladder truck. We created a capital improvement plan for the Lower Saucon Fire Rescue, including hopefully the creation of a new single fire services building. We maintained over $9 million in revenue surplus for the township in reserves, and we provided bonuses for all. We provided raises for all township staff. We also provided incentive bonuses for all township staff and all police officers. Other things, but I'm sure that's a long enough list for everyone. On behalf of council, I want to thank everybody who works with the township. You do an admirable job. It's been a pleasure, and it will remain a pleasure to work with you. I think the township residents don't appreciate enough the hard work that the folks that work in this building and work on the roads and provide fire services, even though they're not necessarily township employees, and that are out there, chasing down the bad guys that are breaking down doors and robbing houses, what they do. I think people take that for granted. It's unfortunate. I, for one, don't. And having been on council, I see firsthand the good work that the folks here do, and it's an honor and a privilege to work with you. I appreciate all that. The Township Pension Committee, Kathy, could you update us on the status of the pension? I know you reviewed everything at the year end in December, as we always do. Could you just give us an update briefly as to how financially well off we are?
I don't have the numbers on me, but I did review the November statements, and we are above our actuarial assumptions projected for the year, which is good Federal reserves are anticipating that the interest rates will remain the same probably through halfway of next year. So at that time, I think we should probably review other opportunities in CDs prior to that happening. But so far, we didn't have a December meeting because everyone wasn't available to come. However, we do plan on having one in January, or March, excuse me, and we'll be looking for another board member at that time.
All right, I just have one other thing to go over. Link, refresh my memory, please. When we were going through, when the township was going through the rezoning on Apple Butter Road, there were various objectives to that proceeding, correct?
So are we talking about the first ordinance that Township Council adopted probably last year right around this time?
It was around,
Right around the end of December.
yes.
Because I remember some of the Christmas comments. So that one, which there were, to my recollect, 2 challenges filed. There was a procedural validity challenge, which the court eventually upheld. There was a substantive validity challenge, which
There was no
became
appeal of that.
moot. Correct. Well, actually, the landfill appealed the procedural validity challenge and then withdrew that appeal.
Okay.
But yes, there were objectors.
Right, and one of those objectors was Northampton County, correct?
No, Northampton County asked to be a party to the conditional use hearing, which was being held pursuant to the first zoning ordinance amendment that was adopted. I don't believe Northampton County did not object. They did not participate in the procedural or substantive validity challenge. They asked to be a party, I believe, to the conditional use hearing.
And they were granted party status by the not the judge.
Well, we had, if you recall, there was an independent hearing
Yes.
officer that council appointed from a Bucks County law firm. And while the procedural validity challenge was pending before the court, the conditional use hearing process commenced and was underway. When the court upheld the procedural validity challenge based on the objectors asking the court to throw the ordinance out, then the conditional use hearing process went away.
When was that?
I'm gonna say late May, June of this year, when the court ruled on the procedural validity.
And then after that, was Northampton County involved in any aspect of the rezoning or any issues regarding the landfill?
Well, after the court upheld the first procedural validity challenge, council then in August adopted an additional zoning ordinance amendment, that there was a declaratory judgment act filed regarding the easements that we discussed tonight. There was a procedural validity challenge filed that's still pending. There was a substantive validity challenge filed that's still pending. And Northampton County is not yet a party to any of those matters. I know Northampton County Council has had some discussions concerning Lower Saucon Township and the landfill, but at the moment, they are not a party to any of those matters.
So the only thing that they were a party to was the conditional use hearing?
Correct.
Okay. And they were a party to that conditional use hearing during what period of time? From the beginning, from when they filed?
I'm gonna say probably started in late January, maybe early February, and through whenever it ended, which I think was sometime at the end of May.
And to be clear, Northampton County is represented, or was represented in that matter by the Northampton County Solicitor's Office, right?
By by the Northampton County Solicitor's Office. I believe Attorney Corriere appeared on behalf of the Solicitor's Office.
Who is the Northampton County Solicitor, do you know?
I believe it's Attorney Rudis.
Melissa Rudis?
I believe that's who it is. I haven't checked recently to see if she's still the Northampton County Solicitor, but that's my recollection.
But she was at some time in 2023, earlier in the year.
Yes, I believe so.
Well, you know, I'm hesitant to bring this up, but I think I'm obligated to. So, the Pennsylvania Ethics Act, you would agree that members of council are required to abide by the Pennsylvania Ethics Act, right?
You're asking me, yes, I would agree with that.
Okay. So, section 1103 talks about restricted activities. And it talks about conflict of interest, seeking improper influence, and accepting improper influence. And I'll share what it says. It says, this is conflict of interest, subpart A. No public official or public employee shall engage in conduct that constitutes a conflict of interest. Subpart B, seeking improper influence. No person shall offer or give to a public official, public employee, or nominee, or candidate for public office, or a member of his immediate family, or a business with which he is associated, anything of monetary value, including a gift, loan, political contribution, reward, or promise of future employment, based on the offeror's or donor's understanding that the vote, official action, or judgment of the public official, or public employee, or nominee of candidate for public office would be influenced thereby. Subpart C, accepting improper influence. No public official, public employee, or nominee, or candidate for public office shall solicit or accept anything of monetary value, including a gift, loan, political contribution, reward, or promise of future employment based on any understanding of the public official, public employee, or nominee that the vote, official action, or judgment of the public official, or public employee, or nominee, candidate for public office would be influenced thereby. And then it goes on in subpart J, and it talks about voting conflict, and it says any public official or public employee who in the discharge of his official duties would be required to vote on a matter that would result in a conflict of interest shall abstain from voting and, prior to the vote being taken, publicly announce and disclose the nature of his interest as a public record in a written memorandum filed with the person responsible for recording the minutes of the meeting at which the vote is taken, provided that whenever a governing body would be unable to take any action on a matter before because the number of members of the body required to abstain from voting under the provision of this section makes a majority or other legally required vote of approval unattainable, then such members shall be permitted to vote if disclosures are made as otherwise provided herein. So, I think I attended every council meeting that took place this year, and I do not recall anyone announcing that they were being represented by the Northampton County solicitor or anybody in the Northampton County Solicitor's office. Did that ever occur? Did anybody on this council ever announce that they were being represented and had a business relationship with any member of the Northampton County Solicitor's office? Do you have a recollection?
That's a question for me. I don't recall.
Okay. I don't know if anybody else in council has that recollection. The reason why I bring all this up, talking about the restricted activities and voting conflict, I don't remember anybody ever saying that publicly announcing the nature of any business relationship or submitting any paperwork. Mark, did you ever receive any paperwork from anybody on this council saying that they have a business relationship with anybody that would pose a conflict of interest?
I did not.
All right. Well, I received a letter on March 6, 2023 from Melissa Rudis, who is was the Northampton County solicitor, who works in the Northampton County Solicitor's office, who was, I believe at the time, the office was representing Northampton County, which was a party to the conditional use hearing, and is telling me that she represents Priscilla De Leon. And it seems to me that that is a conflict of interest, a restricted activity that should have been disclosed to this council. Certainly should have been disclosed to the solicitor and the township manager. Were you aware of that representation by Priscilla De Leon by the Northampton County Solicitor, who was objecting to the conditional use?
I was not personally aware of that.
Mark, were you?
I was not.
What are our obligations as, and you're familiar with the Ethics Act, and I'm asking for your legal advice here or interpretation. What are the obligations of members of this council who become aware of a possible restricted activity that represents a conflict of interest, seeking improper influence, accepting improper influence, or voting conflict? Are we obliged by law to report those suspected Ethics Act violations to the Ethics Board or any other entity?
I mean, I'm not sure that you're obligated as a board to report it. I think it's important to point out that and this is a common misunderstanding, the Ethics Act deals with financial benefits. It deals with a financial benefit to either the elected official or the appointed official. And the most common, the easiest example I think I could give is that if we were to have awarded the paving contract tonight to Sandy's husband, that would be a conflict of interest because Sandy serves on this board, she is voting, and arguably her husband would be receiving a financial benefit from that vote. So that's what the Ethics Act deals with. Well, let me just finish. That's what the Ethics Act deals with. What it does not deal with is conflicts of interest as you would generally understand in terms of non-monetary benefits. In terms of, it's a conflict for, somebody in my family to root for the Eagles because I don't like the Eagles, right? I like the Patriots. That type of conflict is a different conflict than what's controlled and regulated by the ethics.
Admittedly, I don't know what, if anything, of financial value was exchanged here between Melissa Rudis and Priscilla De Leon. Perhaps nothing. But if free or discounted legal services were provided, would that be something of value that would fall within the Pennsylvania Ethics Act?
I think arguably free services that would otherwise be charged and paid by a public official could be a financial benefit. However, that free service would have to be basically in return for some type of a vote. That's where the conflict comes in, right? You can't vote if you stand to benefit financially from that vote.
But not just that. If there were free or discounted legal services that were provided, the Ethics Act talks about voting conflict and the need to publicly announce that, correct?
If there's an action in front of the governing body, in this case council, that council is going to vote on, and the individual is aware that they have a potential conflict of interest, then yes, they have to disclose that prior to voting.
If this was referred to the Ethics Board, what sort of investigation would you expect them to do? I'm not asking you to step into their shoes, but having had any experience with this, what would they do to look into these issues?
I have seen multiple occasions where a letter has been sent to the Ethics Board asking for clarification on certain issues and whether certain conduct would potentially be a conflict of interest or wouldn't. They usually respond with a letter saying, you've asked me the following question, here are the facts you gave us. Based on the facts you gave us, here is our opinion.
All right, thanks, Lynn. That concludes my council report.
Okay, ready for that? Okay, we're applying for what Mark, you didn't say the date for the applicants, it's December 28th, I believe.
Yeah, we're
So-
asking.
So if anybody out there wants to serve on any of our committees, if you're unfamiliar with what the committees are, you go on our reorganization, agenda from last year, it says it. I don't think
Yeah,
it's on
it's
the
on
website,
the
but-
Facebook.
Oh, it is, okay, okay. So please submit your application, we'd be more than interested to look at it. I also want to thank the manager, council, Link, the staff, fire and rescue people, the police, the EMS for a wonderful year. Really appreciate everybody's help. And I also want to say that on January 2nd, 2024, at 6:30, there's going to be a swearing-in ceremony for the newly elected council people. So that will be the Honorable Council-elect Victoria Otop Cordero, the Honorable Council-elect Laura Gray, who's in the audience, and myself. And it will be 6:30, and you're more than welcome to attend. And then we'll proceed with the reorganization meeting. So please, I'd like to see your happy faces out there, if you would. That is all I have. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and season's greetings, whoever you celebrate. And have a special time with your family and your friends. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, the Honorable Tom Carochi.
That's right, we're all
Thanks.
honorable.
I want to thank the township staff and our volunteers. Again, the staff and police and public works are the most valuable asset to township. They earn their salaries and they earn the bonus that they get. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Tom. All right, next is solicitor's report. Lydia,
I don't have anything this evening.
do you have any update on the library litigation?
I think the large, what I would call the large library case that is being handled by the outside counsel, there's still a motion to dismiss pending before the federal court. One of the other library litigation cases had to do with the Right to Know Act that the Hellertown Library didn't respond to. Office of Open Records said they needed to provide the records, and then that got appealed to the Court of Common Pleas. I know there's been some attempts to get some discovery, that the Hellertown Library had actually requested discovery in this appeal matter, which isn't a normal thing to do, but they asked for it. The judge granted it. Our outside counsel agreed to the discovery, and they've been trying to get some discovery from the Hellertown Area Library. They have not been successful on that.
Why not?
I think the response from the library was that the librarian had moved out of town. I think there is a motion for sanctions pending that the librarian had moved out of town.
Her husband got relocated, she just didn't up and left.
I didn't say why she moved, I just said she moved out of town.
Because he keeps saying that she just up and left,
Well, I
and
know.
she didn't, her husband got relocated.
I have no idea why she left.
I'm telling you, so that you know.
I'm telling you, the response from the Hellertown Library was she moved.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Okay.
So I think
you
there's
said
a motion for sanctions
What's
that's
the motion for sanctions about?
pending. Well, it's about failing to respond to the discovery request.
Have they appeared for any depositions?
There was a deposit, there were one or two depositions that were actually officials of Hellertown Borough. I don't think there's been any Hellertown area library official that has appeared for that.
Has there been a request in the scheduling of any Hellertown area library officials where they failed to appear for the deposition after scheduling?
There was one, if not two, but they didn't appear. One was the librarian who, again, the response was she doesn't live here anymore. And I think the other one was the chairman of the board of trustees, if that's what they're now called in Hellertown.
So do you know why the librarian failed to show up for the agreed upon deposition?
I didn't even know there were depositions going on. Nobody tells me anything, so.
You seem to be in contact with her, and you know that she
Excuse me?
you seem to be in contact. You seem to know she moved away, so I thought maybe you knew why she failed to appear for a deposition.
I have no clue, I'm sorry.
All right, that's all you have?
That's all I have.
All right, thanks.
And we get on top of it.
Fine,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Hope everybody has a nice holiday. That's all I have.
Thank you, Frank. All right, that concludes council staff reports. We have public comment, non-agenda items, residents and taxpayers only, with a 3-minute time limit. First up is Russ Sutton. Russ Sutton.
On a positive note, I do respect all your time and efforts, and I also wish Ms. Yerger and Mr. Angus good luck in the future, and thank you for the work that you've done. We may not have agreed on everything, but I wish you luck in your further endeavors. Wish you a Merry Christmas as well. We, the residents of Lower Saucon Township, have a Christmas wish and a New Year's resolution for the coming year. We all welcome our new councilwomen and our returning councilwomen and our new solicitor and, our new controller. And we offer our support and good wishes for the new year. And we'd like to help them as much as possible. And we'd like to have open communications and have a really good next year and improve our township.
Thank you, Russ.
Mr. Sutton, may I ask you for a point of clarification? You mentioned the new solicitor. Who's the new solicitor?
I mean, solicitor controller.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr.
I'm sorry, I said solicitor.
Correct. Thank you. All right, next is Andrew Witchin.
I have several items. The first one is a canard that has been brooded about for several months now, and it's about time somebody stated the truth about it. Inflation is not running high. The current inflation rate is 3.14%. That's in the United States, as opposed to 5.6% in the OECD countries. For those of you who are not economically intelligent, that's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and consists of 37 democracies with market-based economies. So the bad decisions that have been made with the excuse that the inflation is running rampant are still bad decisions. Secondly, I'd like to look at where we were 1 year ago. We were in this room with over 125 people who were opposed to the expansion of the landfill. And here are my highlights for the year. We still have no complete library services, and we are still not the home library or the home territory for any library. We still have inadequate compost facilities. We still have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours of resident time on not just fighting the dump, but fighting our own township council, who don't seem to be able to hear or listen or respond to what their residents want. We also have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours of time working to oust enough people from this council that control of the council will change on the 1st of January. And for that, although it's Christmas, I give thanks. And I look forward to January the 2nd. I'm sorry Mr. Bubble left, because I really would have loved to have heard what his comments were on how well versed Bononis and Treadwell are on ethics and the ethics law. He definitely has some opinions about that. And then finally, I would like to thank Priscilla De Leon for her sanity, her fortitude, her equanimity, her integrity, her voice on behalf of the muzzled citizens of Lower Saucon Township, and on behalf of myself and my thousands, literally, of readers. Thank you for what you have put up with this year and for standing up for us and getting us to where we will be on January 2nd.
That's why I was reelected.
Okay, thank you. Next is Bob Lasko. Bob Lasko.
First off, I'd like to say I'm not running for any political office. Whoops, that line's already been taken. I am here to offer a word or two to the council-elect. I would charge you to honor yourselves and our community in the dispensation of your duties as you assume your newly elected and re-elected positions on council. You ran on a ticket of stopping frivolous spending. You ran on bringing our community together, which includes and does not exclude our neighbors. There is perhaps a temptation to seek retribution for the way this present council has treated you yourselves and others that have attended these council meetings over the last year or so. But please remember your promises. And after getting to know you more personally over the past 12 months, I am convinced that you will remember those promises. It has been my pleasure to work with you, and in some small way, to endorse you as we all fought together for each other and the way of life that we love. As for Mr. Carochi, you sit up there and justify only allowing 3 minutes for concerned citizens to speak, denying concerned non-citizens or taxpayers even 1 minute of time. Yet at times you ramble on with your wordy endorsements of those that you agree with, or diatribes against those you disagree with, quite often only repeating that which has already been stated by other members of council. So much for your concern for the valuable time of the citizens attending the council meetings. Mr. Inglis, you stated that you actually received more of the vote than was credited to you because people that didn't care didn't show up to vote. Well, in that case, Priscilla, Laura, or Victoria could claim those votes also. Your 3 opponents handily defeated you with votes of almost 2 to 1. Those were the people that did care, and there are no hypotheticals there. Mr. Bononis, I predict that your political career is pretty much over. Now, I admit I could be wrong. I've been wrong in the past, but I think not. You have done everything that you could devise to embroil this community in a quagmire of lawsuits. You, by your arrogance, sir, your hubris,
Time's up, sir.
have been your own undoing. You can run a meeting, you can bring down a gavel, call recess and reconvene, but that is where your talents end.
All right, Mr. Blasky.
You, sir, have made yourself anathema to the Republican Party.
Ask
You
for
are
your
a
extra 2
reproach.
minutes.
When women see you coming down the street, they will walk to the other side to keep your shadow from falling on their baby's drool.
You ask for your extra 2 minutes.
How many more people are left to speak on the list? How many more people? I'm asking a question. There's a motion on the floor. I'm asking a question. Please answer my question.
Probably about 10.
Oh, my word, and he's calling for it to adjourn.
I should first call for a motion
Motion to go to recess.
to recess, and I seconded that.
Right, then you said.
You can't have 2 motions on the floor. Somebody has to know.
All right, well, seems like I'll withdraw the motion so that Mr. Blasco stood down finally. Next is Victoria Cordero. Victoria Cordero.
I pass, thank you.
Okay. Next is Amber Rose Palos. Amber Rose Palos.
Hi, Amber Paulos, 2596 Reddington Road. Again, I'm here because I oppose any expansion of the Bethlehem landfill. My husband and our 2 boys also oppose the expansion. This bears repeating because it seems to have been forgotten other times that we've spoken over the last year. My questions are, who will be accountable if and when our well water becomes unsafe to drink? Who will be held accountable when the birds damage our home and our vehicles? Who will be held accountable when our property values decline? Who will be held accountable when the runoff from the landfill causes flooding and landslides? As I said before, or tried to say before, you can add 4 more to your count of 16, Mr. Bononis. Conveniently enough, you did not take account on December 21st of 2022 when this room was packed with hundreds of people who came with testimony in opposition of the rezoning of the land from rural agricultural to light industrial, because then we knew what the true motive was. It must have been too difficult to keep count of all the opposition to the landfill expansion project over the course of this past year, because certain members of the council were too busy devising ways to roll out the red carpet for Bethlehem landfill, holding meetings in the middle of the day so as to make it as difficult as possible for hardworking people of the community to attend. And regarding previous statements about how the approvals for waivers have been accepted by council members in the past, that's like comparing apples to oranges. It's like saying $1 in 1990 is the same as it is and can buy the same things in 2023. This is a different landscape being discussed, a different footprint the landfill will leave behind, and different effects it will have on the whole of the Lehigh Valley. And let's face it, it's 2023. We have more data, more resources, more history. We're supposed to do better than that. We're supposed to learn from our mistakes and do better for future generations. Proper due diligence would indicate that the Bethlehem landfill expansion is unacceptable in the interests of the people, the community, and the environment, well beyond that of the Lower Saucon Township Council's comprehension. Thank you. I have a couple seconds left. I do understand, Ms. Yerger, you've served many years on the council, and I do respect that, and I want to say thank you for your service, even though you walked down on me earlier. But Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
next
you.
is Larry Wright. Larry Wright.
Merry Christmas, neighbor.
Since this is the last council meeting of this administration, it's a good time to comment on what the longest and most lasting and obvious contribution of this council will be, which of course is the mountain turned to garbage, which will be here for the next 50 years or so, and will be the introduction to the Lehigh Valley to everyone traveling west on 78. Which will be tens of thousands over the next 50 years, maybe hundreds of thousands, that will see the mountain of garbage as their first view of the Lehigh Valley. It will say loudly and clearly what has been a priority of this council for years, which is to make the Lehigh Valley a great place for garbage. Apparently, the council didn't have enough room on the south side of that mountain for all the garbage that it felt should be in Lower Saucon. So it's torn down the trees, wants to recontour the land and make room for more garbage on the north side of the mountain. It's euphemistically called an extension, but of course, basically it's a new landfill. You can't see one landfill from the other. It's a new landfill facing 180 degrees from the old. That's far worse than the other landfills that are already in the Lehigh Valley. When you come into this area from New Jersey, you have to look over your shoulder and behind you to see the Easton landfill. When you come to the landfill we have now at the Hellertown exit, you've got to look over your right shoulder. But this is going to be right in front of you. that will treat everybody coming up that mountain with a denuded landscape, trucks dumping garbage, flocks of seagulls grubbing up stuff to eat from the debris, and all of that in front of your first view of the Lehigh River and Allentown. It says clearly the Lehigh Valley is a great place for garbage. Some of you may remember years ago when you'd come down Wyandotte Street into Bethlehem, at the bottom of the hill was the porn store. I used to think, man, what a drag that is. This represents our town. The first thing people see coming into Bethlehem is the porn store. Well, you've done something much worse. You've made a monument to the garbage.
All right, Mr. Wright, your time's up. You could wrap up your comments, please.
At last council meeting, when you were on the bully pulpit, you said that there's what we
Mr.
have
Wright,
to
you're
say
not wrapping
here.
up your comments. You're getting into a whole new topic. So I'm gonna have to ask you to stand down, okay? We have other people that need to speak. Thank you. Next is William Warner. One more time, William Warner. Okay, no response. Next is Ginger Petrie. Ginger Petrie.
Ginger Petrie, 2626 Reddington Road. I have a new topic and an old topic. I'm a participant in your open space program. I was excited to have the opportunity to protect my land from future development while I am still alive. It would break my heart to see hundreds of homes where my beautiful fields are and take away the nature that lives there. I would like to know why you're trying to destroy the program. Once the public finds out about the harassment that I have received, as well as Laura Ray, they will not be willing to subject themselves to that kind of abuse. Also, once you set the precedent of releasing the landfill's easements, no easement will be safe in the future. My old topic is my nemesis, the landfill. We have all stood here, we've cried, we've begged, we've argued, we've spewed facts about blocking the landfill expansion for over a year. Disregarding our protests, you have turned them loose to proceed with their plan of destruction. In only 1 week after you hit the go button, all of us in my vicinity have received this letter from the landfill, from the lawyers, and including the township, that admits that our property values will decline because of their presence. But we could have your assistance and their assistance to help us when we want to sell. I am so proud of you people. You sat there and said that we are all wrong, and then you slapped this out. I want to calm down, and I want to say thank you to Sandy, and I want to say thank you to Mark. And I know you're very good people, and you've worked very hard on this council, and we do appreciate that. We appreciate that you're very good people. And the other thing I want to say to Mr. Carochi and Mr. Bononis, I've got 2 words that I wish I could say, and it's not Merry Christmas.
All right, thank you. Next is Bruce Petrie. Bruce Petrie.
Jason, one comment you made that I can't agree more with you. One of the few times we've agreed is that, everyone in this country's got 1 vote. So it's important it gets registered correctly, even though we're on opposite sides of the aisle, or third side now. It is important to make sure that every vote is counted the way that it was cast. Sandy and Mark, I want to thank you. Sandy when we went into the open space program in 2015. I think it was that year that you actually walked the property with us, the hills. So I'd actually like to invite, as a spirit of Christmas, Mr. Bononis and Mr. Croce. I'll be happy to give you a personal tour of the 164 acres so that you can see the beauty of the land and the flora and the fauna that we protected by doing it. And that being said, even though my wife didn't, I want to wish everyone on council, Mark, Sandy, Link, Jason, Mark, Priscilla, and Tom, Merry Christmas, and have a happy and safe one, and I look forward to working with everyone in the new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Merry Christmas to you as well. All right, next is Dave Bland. Dave Bland.
Dave Lulan, by the way, that I think that's called plagiarism when you steal somebody else's trademark there, for which the president of Harvard did not get sacked. Nonetheless, and by the way, I don't. 9/11. 9/11. Remember 9/11? 3 minutes. Okay. 3 minutes. Some people just don't get a joke. Okay, 9/11. We all remember that. Yes, no, Bob, this has not brought us together. I'm very sorry about that. Hopefully, though, with 3/4 of the board being, one persuasion, everybody will agree on whatever it is, which is not necessarily a good thing. Certainly love to hear the discussions back and forth amongst, the board members and the council. And I think that's a good thing, because I know people here say, we never hear anybody talk about anything. We have tonight, whether you liked it or not. To me, it was beneficial. By the way, as far as those elections go, yeah, there's another thing coming to you, Mark, my opinion, and the council will all see that too. All right. I'm sorry that somebody stole my thunder here about AJL, because yes, by the way, there's just a few of the hundreds of pages, Priscilla. If you go to the court docket records, you'll see that Judge Galley has ruled 45 days. Hal must turn it over. Of course they didn't. I mean, that's just one of many things they haven't done. So I'm really disappointed in the legal system. It seems like if you know the right people or you're the right persuasion or whatever, you can get away with it, and that seems to be what's happening. My concern, though, is that it's $150,000 versus $10,000 if we ever end up back in the Hal pocket, and that could be just the start. There may be reparations, who knows what else, okay? And will we ever get this information, which the discovery list is tens of pages long, and there's been 45 working days, and we still don't have it. We don't have any ruling. This is more of the thumb it in your face kind of thing. Look, I'm for law and order here, all right? Whether Hal does or doesn't, or you do or he does, just do it honestly, okay? If we're all gonna play football, let's put it on the same field, all right? That's why I'm here. I'm not running for election.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gray. Next is Laura Ray. Laura Ray.
Hey, Laura Ray, I did run for election. Put it on record. Okay, so my topic I wanted to talk about, was what happened at the last meeting with the budget, because that was just crazy. You should rewind and watch that. It was really a three-ring circus with numbers being thrown out and changed, sitting up there using phone calculators, hollering over to Kathy, you know, what does that do if we do this, if we do that and change this up or down? That was not normal or acceptable way to conduct business concerning our budget. And it's outrageous that the changes were all done on the fly, and none of you had anything on paper to look at, to review, consider, think about, or check if any of those numbers were right or made any sense. They were just tossed out there. Yet 4 of you voted to approve that budget with those changes. I can specifically recall a couple council members mentioning in the past that it's not good business practice to be living off your savings. Yet look at what was voted on. It's a budget that uses about $1.8 million from our reserves, which was an increase from the budget originally presented. So there's some hypocrisy for you. That money's not being used for any emergency or dire need. The current council majority created the original budget with no tax change. So the timing of cutting those taxes after council majority lost at the election appears to be a very obvious move to further impede or jeopardize the ability for future council to handle the future needs of the township, which may include some very major updates needed for the facilities for our fire services. So this was an indication. There was indication at that meeting that other townships only keep reserves as low as 3 or 6 months of their budget, and you know, other places are, I think Catasauqua might be going bankrupt. So you were suggesting that we're okay if we reduce our budgets to have that little in our reserves, and I truly don't feel that is a goal for us to strive for.
Thank you. We did pass a balanced budget. It has $9 million plus in surplus, and the numbers that we provided at the last council meeting in support of the budget were accurate numbers, correct?
Yes, the three-quarter mil reduction was.
With a three-quarter mil reduction.
Yes.
All right, well, I think that concludes the non-agenda item part of the meeting. Before we wrap up, I again want to thank Sandy for her long time on council, Mark for his long time on council. You've endured a lot of nonsense and nastiness over the years of time here, and you've done the Lord's work. So thank you again for your time on council. Enjoy the holidays with your families, and Merry Christmas to everybody. A motion to adjourn.
Hey, congratulations. God, I don't think we ever actually ever hooked up because you're just right there and solid as a post, you know. So I thought I was kind of
You wouldn't want, I mean, yeah, it'd be interesting to write some memoirs. How many years now? A bunch of years, we just needed it back.
And none of those three are there.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, that's
Cheats and scams.
apparently what I've been learning.
Did you read Bubba's letter? That letter was amazing.
Brian, Merry Christmas.
That letter is not on the page. That was from, Priscilla made it public. It's on her Facebook page. You should read it, it's great. It's everything we wanted to say for the last 2 years.
She gave me a whole pile of paperwork. It's like, how do you find it? She said, you have to go in here and go in there.
Excuse me. Hope you had a lousy Christmas. I don't know, that's weird. You know, I went on the county site the other night to get